story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on CoreTV News at 7. I am Egnolomo Adekunle. The United States has assured Nigeria of its support towards a violence-free general elections in 2015. American Ambassador to Nigeria James N. Twistle disclosed this during a visit to the leadership of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja. He expressed concern over the security of electorates in the Northeast as the general elections draws close. And Twistle says Nigeria can have a peaceful election if politicians
things
agree
I'm
to work
doing, as
for
you've
peace.
seen. I'm talking constantly about the importance of non-violence before, during, and after the elections, calling on all politicians to take the pledge ahead of time to guarantee the voters that they will not participate in violence. I think that's very, very important. I know that the media joins me in this, and I think there's a big role for all of you in the media. If a politician comes and he wants to be on your radio station or your TV station, make him take the non-violence pledge if he wants to use your station. That's something very, very important that the media can do. So my country stands for elections and democracy around the world, and we're doing everything we can to help here. So far, everything I see is the plan is to conduct the elections everywhere in the country, but that's something that I think we all have to work for, but fully understanding that in certain parts of the country, the security situation right now is a bit delicate. But I think we have to work towards that. Related to that in the Northeast, it's not just whether you can run the elections in those states, it's what happens to all of the voters who have been displaced by the violence. And on election day, if they're not at home and they're not in their polling place, will they be able to vote?
It's his first visit here. We are a party that is 1 year old, and I suppose it was quite right for him to come to make our acquaintance, to familiarize himself with us, our thinking, how we view the various situations as they are developing in the country, our attitude and reactions to the elections that have been held, our expectations for the elections that are to come, and so on and so forth. And it was a very useful discussion.
Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has promised to take necessary action that will ensure equity in delineation of wards and creation of additional polling units by the state's Independent Electoral Commission. Fashola made this known while receiving the reports on investigation on delineation of wards and creation of additional polling units from the chairman of the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, Abdul Fatai Adeyinka. The LASIC boss explained that the state will further involve citizens in all parts of Lagos to participate in the process of electing their representatives.
Every state, every country, every community is a continuing work in progress. And so new towns, new communities spring up, sometimes in what used to be forests, areas that used to be rural become rapidly urbanized, people move there. And so it is not just enough to build roads, to build schools, to build hospitals there. It is also important to ensure that those people who have moved into new communities, who have built new estates, have an opportunity to participate in how decisions affecting their lives are taken. And this is the guarantee of participatory democracy in our state.
For its part, the LASIK boss says the report is the result of a stakeholders forum held in 2010, which was later aborted for the 2011 general elections. He noted that the report, if adopted, will assist
At the
INEC
initial
in
stage,
conducting
we had
elections
two
without
options.
any hitch.
One is to go in the log of this exercise, while the other one is to stay in the office, just take biro and pen and paper. How many words do we have now? Then we start delineating. No, we believe we should go into the field and base our report on empirical facts, which is what we have done.
Some governorship aspirants under the platform of the ruling People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State have asked the party not to grant waiver to Nuhu Ribadu and others who seek to contest the party's primaries. The petition was submitted at the party's national headquarters in Abuja. Apart from Ribadu, other aspirants, the petitioners asked to be denied waiver are Muhammad Mudibo, Marcos Gundiri, Buba Marwa, and Aliyu Kama. The 7 aspirants who signed the petition are Umar Ado, Ahmed Gulak, James Barka, Andrawu Sawa, Abubakar Halilu Girey, Idi Hung, and Hawal Tukur. The petition, which was sent to the chairman of waiver panel and the party's national organizing secretary Abubakar Mustafa, was titled Objection to Granting of Waivers for the Purpose of Contesting the People's Democratic Party's governorship primaries in Adamawa State for the forthcoming October 11 by-election. The petitioners argued that Ribadu, Gunduri, and Modibo joined the PDP for the first time only recently, while Marwa and Kama returned to the PDP less than 2 years ago. Ribadu, in his reaction, says those huffing and buffing over his entrance into the governorship race portray themselves as empty shells that they are. The Kwara State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has alleged a display of gunpowder by both youths and elders of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) in Ajashaikpo, Irekodun local government area of Kwara State. In a statement by the Kwara PDP Publicity Secretary, Chief Rex Kola Olawoye, the party implored the Kwara State Police Command to quickly stop the tide of violence that is now gradually enveloping parts of Kwara State as a result of power tussle over the second-term ambition of the incumbent governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed. According to the PDP Publicity Secretary, fracas in Ajasaipo has only vindicated PDP's position that the leadership of the Kwara APC are only interested in retaining power at all costs and at the detriment of the peace and tranquility of the state. He stated that newspaper reports indicated that the bloody fracas was caused by aggrieved Kwara South APC youth leaders who stormed the venue of a meeting where the second-term bid of the governor was being perfected and beat up their party leaders black and blue. Already, about 20 chieftains of the APC, including a former commissioner of works in the state, have been reported to have been hospitalized and are now being treated with varying degrees of bodily injury. As much as we do not encourage the violence employed by the APC youths, we, however, note with delight their rare courage to stand against the inequity of allowing the non-performing Kingsman clinch a second-term ticket in the APC. End of quote. The youths, having realized that the elders have been compromised with peanuts, have decided to take their destinies in their own hands. President Goodluck Jonathan has launched a multi-purpose national electronic ID card. Speaking at the formal launch in Abuja, the president says the target is to ensure that over 100 million cards are issued. President Jonathan received his own electronic ID card at the occasion and pointed out that it would make it easier for ordinary Nigerians to benefit from government policies.
This card, every Nigerian must get. If you take the issue of subsidy of transport, what we do subsidizing hydrocarbons does not go to the ordinary people. Government spends huge sums of money, hundreds of billions of naira every year in the budget, as the National Assembly, sometimes always controversial, subsidizing kerosene. Kerosene is going very high in the market, subsidizing PMS and so on. We are thinking about how do we subsidize transport of the person going to school. person going to the market, person moving from Lagos or Enugu or Lagos to Kano, not paying subsidy, that 50% of that will be smuggled out of the country. When the issue of the crisis in the north came up, we come up with the idea, Mr. President, how do we do some bit of something that takes the shape of amnesty? There's amnesty in the South or Niger Delta. How do we do amnesty? I said, look, we must not wait for youth to carry arms against the state before we help them. We are working to the extent that as long as we have the identity, governments will be able to directly, just like the coordinating minister of the economy attempted to explain to us, to find a way of making life more meaningful. You can't do that when you don't know who is who, because the money goes to the wrong hands. And those who use this money to create more problems, even for the very poor people they're exploiting. So I'm quite pleased today. In fact, with NIMS's success story, as a nation, we are moving.
All right, we were ready.
It's the CoreTV News on the hour. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more reports. Don't go away.
This is Lagos. This is our city. You know that our city needs heroes. Yeah, yeah. Our future is in our hands. The spirit of Lagos, a city that is strong in value, a Lagos that is filled with heroes. With neighbors that care for each other. This is Lagos. This is our city. Our city needs heroes. Our future is in our hands. The spirit of Lagos.
I need you, you need me. Together, we're the spirits of Lagos.
Thank you so much for being there. The federal government has lifted the ban placed on residency training at all federal hospitals nationwide. It has also ordered the reinstatement of all resident doctors who were disengaged as a result of the action. Health Minister Onyebuchi Chukwu said that all chief medical directors and medical directors of the training centers have been directed to issue letters of reinstatement to the resident doctors to enable them resume work immediately. He, however, added that the appraisal of the residency program is still ongoing with a view to making it better. It should be recalled that few days after calling off their nationwide strike, the doctors had complained that government had not withdrawn the suspension circular. The Rivers State government has identified the lone Ebola casualty in the state. He is Ike Enemo, the doctor that attended to an ECOWAS staff who was one of the primary contacts of the late Liberian-American Patrick Sawyer. The doctor was said to have treated the diplomat of Ebola symptoms in a hotel in Port Harcourt. Rivers State government has placed 100 people on surveillance, including contacts from the hotel. The doctor's patients and patients of the hospital were Enemo, who was treated before his death. The ECOWAS staff who took Ebola to Port Harcourt was initially placed under surveillance in Lagos before seeking alternative treatment. In an effort to complement measures taken by the federal and state governments to contain the spread of Ebola virus, the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria organized a sensitization workshop for health workers. The workshop held at the Lautech Teaching Hospital, Osogbo, and was described as timely, especially for those handling blood samples from infected patients who are more vulnerable to contracting the disease. Rashid has more in this report.
For an Ebola patient to be properly diagnosed, a science laboratory test must be carried out on the blood. This leaves the medical laboratory worker at a high risk of contracting the deadly disease than any other individual. To ensure that its members have a proper understanding on how to handle blood samples from suspected Ebola cases, Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, Lautech chapter, held a sensitization program in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. The chairman of the union, Adeyeye Adetunji, says the program is necessary because of the exposure of laboratory scientists to the Ebola danger.
Medical laboratory scientists evidently play a role in the diagnosis and monitoring treatment of various diseases affecting human populations. In the prevailing circumstance, health workers have been identified as being at greater risk of contracting the Ebola virus, as they are the ones daily taking care of the patients already affected by the disease.
When you are talking about Ebola, it's just one of the threats that we have in hospital workplace or hospital workstation, especially laboratory this time around.
In his lecture, the head of medical laboratory services at LAUTECH Osogbo, Musa Muibi, stressed the need for laboratory scientists to apply the standard safety precautions in laboratories to make them safe from Ebola and any other deadly virus.
Don't say because a sample is labeled Ebola. I mean, a patient is a suspected Ebola case, that's why they have sent the sample. They may send another sample of whom have not manifested any symptoms of Ebola for common pregnancy tests. If that person is Ebola positive, his urine is infectious. So it is the message for all laboratory personnel is that at all the time, continue to observe universal safety precautions.
Participants and laboratory students speak on the impact of the sensitization.
I have learned that Ebola can only be transferred from patients who have shown symptoms of the virus. And you get Ebola from body fluids, you don't just get it from body contact. And I've also learned that as scientists that are going to be taking body fluids and carrying out tests in the lab, there are universal safety procedures that should be followed in order to prevent loss of life through tests done in the laboratories.
With the newly recorded cases of Ebola, it is pertinent for all hands to be on deck in fighting the scourge. Rashid, CoreTV News, Osogbo.
Meanwhile, head of the United States top public health body, Tom Frieden, says the Ebola epidemic in Liberia is set to get worse, and many cases of the deadly disease are not included in the official tally. Liberia has been hardest hit by the epidemic that is raging through West Africa, with 624 deaths and 1,082 cases since the start of the year. Frieden met President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to discuss ways of combating the epidemic.
Throughout Liberia for the last few days, talking to patients, healthcare workers, government workers, community leaders, and others. The situation with Ebola in Liberia today is dire. There is need for urgent action. The world has never seen an outbreak of Ebola like this. Unfortunately, not only are the numbers large, but we know that there are many more cases than have been diagnosed and reported, and that cases are increasing. I wish I didn't have to say this, but it is going to get worse before it gets better. At the same time, I've been very impressed by the response that I have seen. All of Liberia needs to come together to stop Ebola. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick.
In the same vein, the death toll from the Ebola outbreak raging through West Africa has passed the 1,500 mark, while the number of cases has soared past 3,000, according to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization says a total of 1,552 people had died in Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone and Nigeria from the epidemic that reared its head at the beginning of the year, while 3,062 had become infected. Guinea has 648 cases, including 430 deaths, while Sierra Leone has seen 1,026 cases and 422 deaths. Liberia so far counted 1,378 cases and 694 deaths, while Nigeria has seen 17 cases and 6 deaths, according to the World Health Organization. It's the CoreTV News at 7. We take another break and we'll be back with a story outside Nigeria.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Thank you so much for being there. The United Nations says the conflict in eastern Ukraine has killed nearly 2,600 people since mid-April, saying the sharp increase is as a result of fighting in densely populated areas between Kiev's army and pro-Russian rebels.
The current number of killed is 2,593 confirmed deaths, which is close to 3,000 if we include the 298 victims of the MH17 plane crash, which we especially disturbing is the alleged increase in participation of foreign fighters in hostilities.
British Prime Minister David Cameron has urged Scottish people to reject independence in a rare speech in Glasgow, in which he says their argued union is a strong economic advantage. Cameron said the union between Scotland and England is the greatest merger in history as he addressed a conference of the Confederation of British Industry in Glasgow. Most opinion polls currently suggest the proposal, which would end more than 300 years of union with the rest of the United Kingdom, is set to be rejected.
It is that brought our nations together in 1707, the greatest merger in history. 3 centuries on, our union and our prosperity are still closely bound. Business could become tougher, trade could become more costly and complex, jobs could become harder to find. So my case is this: our single market is one of our union's greatest advantages. If we stay together, Scottish businesses have better opportunities, Scottish consumers have more choice, Scottish people have more secure jobs. Why put all those great advantages at risk by going into the great unknown? In a fast-moving world, with the rise of new economies in China, Malaysia, Brazil, size does matter. That size, the sheer scale of our union, gives Scottish businesses a government that fights for them around the globe. I would argue in Scottish business today you have the best of both worlds.
And it's a wrap on the CoreTV News at 7. Join me again at 9:45 for the primetime news. Thank you for watching. I am Ebunlomo Adekunle.